Audio, and I'm the president of Zero Surge, a manufacturer of power quality filters that are used for surge protecting sensitive electronics. With Zero Surge, you have peace of mind that your electronics are kept safe. Today, my guest is Tara Shepard. She is the executive director of goHunterdon. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
goHunterdon is dedicated to promoting sustainable transportation in Hunterdon County by working with commuters, employers, and communities. Their programs span the breadth of transportation for all ages and all situations. Their senior programs deal with access to health care and general senior mobility. They promote sustainable environmental transportation programs like bike programs, carpooling. They work with local governments, businesses, promote these issues. And with children, they have success with promoting safety with bikes, walking to school, safe school paths. What was that called? Safe
Routes to School.
Safe Routes to School, thank you. And they also have a successful program called the Junior Solar Sprints, which is how I got involved with the organization. And we'll try to cover as many of these as we can and then talk about some of the other issues. But I also encourage you to visit their website, goHunterdon.org. So easy to remember. And as always, I'll end the show with some historical perspective. Today I did some research on the many innovations that New Jersey was first to use in the world of transportation. So not growing up in New Jersey, I didn't know about some of these first, so it was interesting to find out. But first we do the weather because it's still like a live radio show, so I didn't get it up yet. But let's see, it is raining, right? It was raining when you got in, right?
It was raining when I arrived, yeah.
It's actually, I had a really good streak for a while where it was sunny the last 4 or 5 shows. And now the streak is broken because now it's raining. And we're back into fall, so it's like 56 degrees right now, and it's going to rain tonight. Chance of rain tomorrow, high 65, and then Friday, just kind of one of these that's going to be raining on and off, in the 60s. So we're welcome to fall. Summer, I think, is over, maybe.
I think it's a safe bet.
Okay, so that's good. Okay, so let's see where we're at here. Okay. All right, so welcome, Tara. So we met because through Mark Salick. I guess he was the one that said we should get together. I guess because of the Junior Solar Sprints, but let me move this up. It's kind of out of the way here. So why don't we start by just telling everybody about yourself, like how did you get involved with this? Did you start the organization? You didn't found it, right?
I did not found the organization.
Okay, so then how did they find you?
It was 20 years ago in June that I joined the organization as the executive director. I was the second executive director of the organization. And back then, our name was a little bit different. It was our given corporate name, Hunterdon Area Rural Transit, which sounded a whole lot like a bus company.
Yes.
But our mission...
That's true. I thought it was the bus company when I first heard about it, yes.
Right. But back then, it was formed really out of 2 things. First, it had to do with New Jersey's mandatory employee trip reduction regulations that mandated that employers of a certain size have a plan in place to reduce the amount of traffic congestion that they were generating by having their employees come to work. Mm-hmm. And so nonprofits like our organization throughout the state were funded at that time to really focus on employer work sites to facilitate carpool and vanpool programs and make sure that commuters were aware of public transportation options. And then also, as Hunterdon was beginning to grow and expand and understand the need for transportation and to address congestion issues and service issues, it was just an appropriate time for an organization like this to be formed.
Okay, and then you changed the name to goHunterdon a couple years ago, right?
Just about a year ago now.
Oh, okay, it was a year ago. Okay.
Yeah, and really the impetus behind that was that we've really come a long way since our original focus in terms of just really looking at commuters. And our whole focus really now is it doesn't depend on how you're moving,
right.
But we want to make sure that people are aware of all of the different transportation options, which may even just include being able to walk and bike safely, to the public transportation options that are available, to still providing people with carpool matching services. And
I think it matches with part of the county's effort of being this rural place, but then also the place for people to come visit.
Right.
So I know that there's a big shift. They're going to have more focus on the tourism economy
Right.
in the county. So having places where you can do, a couple mile walk. It's not just always about hiking up a mountain. It could be, doing window shopping in a safer place where you're not dodging traffic, or you're not in some big box mall, strip mall kind of place where that's not where people are going to relax
Right.
to walk around. So it's,
Right.
having the canal, things like that to walk through.
Part of what makes Hunterdon very unique is that although we are still very rural and we have these tremendous open spaces, we have brilliant walkable communities that draw people from all over the area. So people want to come to Lambertville, and they want to go to Frenchtown, and they want to come to Flemington because it's a walkable community. And also bicycle tourism is becoming a very big part of our effort, because bicyclists are drawn to Hunterdon County because of the scenic vistas and the rolling hills and the different types of roads and surfaces, whether they're on the road, whether they're on a towpath or on the Columbia Trail. There's something for everyone. And that really becomes a draw for bicyclists, which generate a great amount of tourism revenue to the
Right,
county.
because a bicycle, if you're walking, maybe you just walk through an area, you're done, you go home. But a bicyclist is going to stop at a shop, get a drink, they're going to hang out, they're going to rest.
Absolutely.
And they're going to be going further too. So.
And they tend to travel in groups, so it's you get more bang for your buck when a group comes through, and stop for lunch, as you said, or stops for
Yeah, I
some
see that a
coffee.
lot because I go down Pittstown Road through from our office is on Route 12 all the way up to like the ShopRite area, and if I do it on a weekend, you'll see definitely 6 or 7 bikes running up and down. And they'll stop at the Pittstown Inn
Right.
because they have a nice outdoor little place to sit, or they'll go all into Frenchtown,
Right.
and go down there. So
Right. So making sure that people are, cyclists are aware that Hunterdon County does have all these amenities is very important to contributing to the overall economy of the county.
okay, and then you also work with companies too, besides just commuting issues, right? You like the one you highlighted at just so people know, I was at her annual breakfast a couple weeks ago. So so I learned a lot about some of the other programs that they do, and there's a nice brochure if you ever want it. I'm sure you can you download this from your website?
It's on our website, yes.
Yeah, so it talks about all the different programs, but like even some of the stuff you're doing with what you did with 3M was kind of interesting too.
Right. So we rely on our local employer work sites to really be partners with us, because that's really the only way we can reach out to a lot of the commuters. And the employers that we work with understand that making sure that their employees can get to work easily and cost effectively is a good benefit for the employee. And so in the case of 3M, they've been outstanding partners and invite us in on a regular basis to share our information and on commute options with their employees. And 3M, as a corporation, has a long-standing history of supporting bicycling, for example. So 3M has a fleet of bicycles at their work site here in Flemington that they make available to their employees to ride on their breaks. So
Wow.
we went in and we provided some bicycle safety skill drills with them and helmet fittings. And
So they have to wear a helmet too? If
they
they're
have to
at
wear
work?
the helmet, yeah.
Okay.
Always wear your helmet.
That's true of any age, right? I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely. New Jersey law requires that anyone under the age of 17 must wear a helmet, but we encourage everyone to wear a helmet.
And that's not just bicycles too, right? Is it any moving? So, I mean, how is it as far as like skateboard,
The phrase that we
scooter?
use, particularly with the kids that we work with, is wheels at your feet, helmet on your head. So
Okay.
that means whether it's a bicycle, a skateboard, a scooter, rollerblades, if anyone's still wearing rollerblades. I'm aging myself now, but yeah, if there's wheels at your feet, you want to have a helmet on your head.
Okay, that's a good way of saying it. That's good. Yeah, because like my neighbors have all sorts of devices, scooters, wheeled things.
Hoverboards.
ATVs. I mean, there's a unfortunate news story recently about that,
Sure.
where they weren't wearing helmets.
Yeah.
And those kind of things. And there's a lot of people who do trail rides around here and things like that. That's very important.
Yeah.
So you guys get involved in like promoting that to the public as well.
We do through our Safe Routes to School program, which is a federal program, federally funded program that focuses on students in grades K to 8. We do a lot of bicycle education with that age group. We will do helmet fittings. We will go in and teach basic bicycle skills to the students. And one of the things that parents don't know a lot of the time, that the students normally don't know, but the parents don't know, is that helmets have an expiration.
Right. Just like car seats.
Right. So there is a label inside of every single bicycle helmet that indicates the manufacture date. And over time, the styrofoam padding in that helmet will degrade. Or if the rider is involved in any kind of an accident, there's a possibility that there could be damage to the helmet. So we want to make sure that people are not wearing outdated or damaged helmets.
Yeah, and I think too, it's got to be because of stuff like, the way kids handle the helmets. You see them throw them around. I mean, those are little mini accidents that are happening all the time. So eventually, you should, you can't just rely on having your kid grow out of it.
Right, and so sort of to mitigate that, because we understand, if you have several children, you might want to hand down the helmet to the next child, but we are able to provide helmets free of charge through the funding that we receive if there is a helmet that's outdated or that we don't feel is safe any longer after we've inspected it.
So do people contact you guys to do that, or
Yes,
do you guys go around?
Both. We work with about 20 schools across the county. We get involved with some of the other nonprofit organizations like United Way and different public events. We'll go out and invite people to bring their helmet, tell them to
have it checked.
And then we'll replace it if necessary.
Yeah, I think you did that at Lebanon Borough School years ago. My kids came home with a helmet once, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Right.
So, so I do remember that. That was probably 10 years ago, but
Yep.
So that's good. All right, so we need to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll get back and we'll talk about what your, over the years now that you've been with them 20 years, like different innovations you've seen and what you guys do versus maybe what you did 20 years ago. Okay. And we'll go from there. So let me just check my number here. All right, here we go.
Oh, folks, you know what that music is? That's the time for modern design. This blue thing is a really new trend. A lot of the designers are trying to introduce blue as a new cabinet color. This is topical for you guys. This is really topical. And the mother said, well, I'd like her room to be gray. And the little girl said, Mom, gray is the color of depression. Hi, this is Rich Scuderi of Modern Design. We're on live every Wednesday from 2 to 3, and you're listening on WHCR DB.
You're listening to WHCR-DB, HunterdonChamberRadio.com. Brought to you by the Hunterdon County Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business.
Did you know that 1 in 5 people are affected by mental illness? NAMI Hunterdon is the locally affiliate for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We are all volunteers, and all our programs are free of charge. We offer Family to Family, a 12-week course for families that have an adult member with a mental illness. Another popular program is In Our Own Voice, where individuals who are living with mental illness discuss their challenges and their progress in overcoming those challenges. Another course we offer is Basics, a 6-week course for families with a child or an adolescent who has experienced mental illness. We also have a monthly support group for families on the third Thursday of every month. Please call NAMI Hunterdon at 908-284-0500 for more information about any of our programs or to join. NAMI Hunterdon, the voice for mental health in Hunterdon County.
When it matters most, our award-winning team of emergency physicians and nurses provides sophisticated care 24 hours a day. Superior emergency care at a moment's notice. Hunterdon Healthcare, your full circle of care.
All right, we're back. Okay, back here with, get the sound volumes up here, Tara Shepard, the Executive Director of goHunterdon. And we're talking about all the initiatives they do under their umbrella organization and So I thought that one thing though we didn't touch on really quick was the senior stuff that you do too.
Right.
I thought that was pretty cool with like the stuff you do with Lyft and the access to the hospital, and that's important.
Right, right. So, we spend a lot of time looking at data, and we look at trends and demographics, and the, overall, Hunterdon County trends to be an older
Sure. Yeah.
population overall. I know that topic has come up on, many times relative to economic development and municipalities planning for the future and whatnot. But from our point of view, what we're really looking at is, okay, as our population ages, and the largest percentage of our overall population is 65 or older, the determination is, are these people going to want to age in place? And if that's the case, are we ready for them from a transportation standpoint? Because there will come a time where they will not feel comfortable driving any longer. It's not appropriate for them to be driving any longer.
Right.
And we need to be prepared for that. So we need to be looking at expanding the transportation options for that population. And in many cases, they may have limited mobility. So the type of transportation that they may need is going to be different than somebody that's able-bodied and can easily access, other transportation options. And in a lot of cases, the lack of transportation and not having services impacts more than just someone. When you say, oh, well, I couldn't get somewhere.
Right.
Well, it may not be a big deal if it means that you couldn't go out to, meet a friend for dinner.
Right.
But when you're talking about doctor appointments, if you're talking about a trip to the grocery store, or other quality of life issues,
Right.
That's a big impact.
But
on
even
people's
not being
lives.
able to meet your friends for dinner
Right.
is a big, we've dealt with it in our own family with my wife's parents separately because they're divorced. So it's like dealing with each one of them individually and how that's like a very important thing. And we saw that when we did move my mother-in-law to an assisted living facility where she's around a lot more people, like her mental function improved in the first month just from that. So if she didn't have that mobility, that would be an issue.
Absolutely. And there, I think that the county does a very good job with the senior programming that they have in terms of the senior centers and a lot of the day programs that they have available. But, there's a saying that, if you can't get somewhere, it doesn't exist for you.
Okay.
And so
That makes sense.
That's really the reality of it is of that. So about 2 years ago, we were meeting with some of the folks over at Hunterdon Medical Center, and they were expressing their concerns about patients missing appointments or indicating that they needed to reschedule an appointment, all because of a lack of transportation. So based on some relationships that we had with Lyft, and for people that aren't familiar with Lyft, it's like Uber. It's a competitor to Uber. And the way that Uber and Lyft kind of are finding their way in the marketplace overall is that Uber tends to be more of an international market and urban market, and Lyft is kind of carving out its niche in more rural and suburban areas. Both of those companies are referred to as transportation network companies.
Right, because they don't actually own.
They don't own
car.
any. Right. They don't own any of the vehicles. What they're really doing is brokering transportation services with pre-approved drivers that are independent contractors.
Right.
But it provides a very important additional service in an area like Hunterdon County where we do have such limited service. And
Yeah, because we don't really have a bus system per se. We don't even have New Jersey Transit buses, right? I mean,
Hunterdon County is one of 2 counties in New Jersey that does not have New Jersey Transit bus service. The other one is Sussex.
oh wow.
So,
Yeah, that's pretty rural
right.
too.
But even with bus service, that's still not going to address the need for that door-to-door trip that seniors in particular are going to need.
Right.
So being able to facilitate this partnership between Hunterdon Medical Center and Lyft, where now there are 3 designated pickup and drop-off locations at the medical center, at the main door, the emergency department, and the doctor's office entrance. It's increasing that transportation landscape, as I often will say.
Yeah, I thought that was when I learned about that aspect of it, I thought that's very important here because, like, I do know, like you said, that Hunterdon is getting older, and a lot of people do want to live in the house that they just want to stay there as long as possible because it costs, we know how much it costs now from dealing with. It's very expensive to even get, even if it was a medium quality, living center, costs, it could be $50,000 a year.
Sure.
So just for one person. So you can imagine trying to do it with two people and then and all that. Whereas if you could have them stay at home, and sure, maybe it costs them a couple $1,000s a year in transportation costs, but that's a lot cheaper than spending $50,000 to move out of their house that they didn't want to move out of too.
Right.
So I think that's people sometimes get hung up on that aspect, but I think you got to look at the whole picture,
Right. The other thing is with our community mobility and senior mobility programs is we look at it sort of as a spectrum. Seniors today are much younger for much longer. Even chronologically, although they may be aging, they want to be independent, and so our programming kind of meets them where they are. And so, if you're a senior that wants to keep driving, for example, we want you to be independent. We want you to have that mobility. We have a program called CarFit that we introduced last year, which is a collaboration. It was a development by AAA, the American Occupational Therapy Association, and AARP. And it's really designed to make sure that seniors are fit properly in their car, that they know how far they should be back from the steering wheel, that their mirrors are adjusted properly, that their seat is adjusted properly, to position them in a way to accommodate what may be now a little bit more limited mobility, to ensure that if they're going to continue driving, they're doing it in a safe way. Maybe they haven't adjusted their mirrors or their seat or their steering wheel for the past 20 years.
But yet their body is adjusted over the past 20 years.
Right.
So maybe they have knee problems. Maybe they're a couple inches shorter than they used to be.
Right.
Yeah, I can see. And is there issues too with making sure that they have roadside assistance, say? Because they're not going to be changing a tire maybe the way they used to and things like that.
Right. Well, that's not a particular part of this program, but certainly when we meet with seniors on a regular basis, we always talk with them about all the things that they need to consider. But we have specially trained staff that have been certified as CarFit technicians that will meet with seniors either individually or in small groups for events to do CarFit sessions. And it's been very well received, and I think that probably it's going to be a very popular program in the years to come, and that's something new.
Okay.
And I know you want to talk about innovation.
So that's definitely the concept of thinking of the whole population when you're dealing with transportation. It used to be initially when you started this out, it was about commuters.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, let's add the kids.
Right.
And now it's, let's do the whole package. Let's add the seniors now. So now we're covering everybody.
Right.
So that's a good explanation of how you've walked through the innovation changes. But what other things have you guys done that are maybe different than other county? Because these are all county-based organizations in New Jersey, right, that do this.
Right. So, our organization is one of 8 organizations like we are around the state of New Jersey.
Okay. So not every county has a Go, Mercer, or Go.
Every county does have a Transportation Management Association, which is the generic name for an organization like ours. Every county in New Jersey is covered, which makes New Jersey quite unique. It's the only state in the country that does have statewide coverage. Just some of my colleagues cover more than one county.
Okay.
So our organization just covers Hunterdon County.
So there's some regional ones.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And the beauty of the way that New Jersey has set this up is that the organizations can be very responsive to local needs. Obviously, our needs in Hunterdon are going to be quite different than Hudson.
Right.
South Jersey might look a little bit more like Hunterdon County, but it doesn't look like Somerset County, and doesn't look, these other places. So each organization is able to address their needs and in a proportional way to whatever they have. So my colleagues up in Hudson County, it's a very transit-rich area. That's not an issue. But they may have more concerns regarding pedestrian safety crashes, for example.
Right.
Or they may have issues related to influx of, employers that are coming in, businesses that are moving from New York into
Right.
Jersey City, for example, and figuring out how to
And
address the
changing
commute
bus
needs.
routes and things like
Yeah,
that. Like you don't have to worry about that because there are no bus routes to change, except for the link, I guess.
Right.
Is their only bus service that we have here.
Right.
But well, we also Transbridge and so then
Right.
like Transbridge, that made me think of like, so then you deal with all your other New Jersey colleagues, I imagine, at higher up meetings and
Yes.
try to, because our roads connect to each other, so it's not a Hunterdon only problem for some
right.
things. But then you deal with your Pennsylvania counterparts too, since we are on the border with Pennsylvania.
We do, and we're always sort of aware of what's happening in the Lehigh Valley. And as a matter of fact, a good percentage of people that work in Hunterdon County actually live in the Lehigh Valley.
Right.
So it's important for us to be aware of that as well. And of course, for anyone that travels on I78 eastbound in the morning,
Yes.
they understand the impact that Pennsylvania has on Hunterdon County's commute.
Right. So then how do you, I guess that leads me to another question that is like, how much does your organization get involved, being that 78 is an interstate and it's really a state highway issue? Like how much say do you have as far as like, say we've had all these crashes? I mean, almost weekly there's some major crash on 78. And I know the one thing they tried to do is, the only thing they've done since I've lived here 22 years, say, is put the barrier across the median in 78. That's the only thing they've really done differently about that road. Is that correct? In 20 years? I mean, other than repaving it, they haven't done anything to make it safer, have they? No.
There's not been any really significant improvements, but I think the jury's still out in terms of how much of it is the geometry of the road. I mean, the challenges that 78 have, and I'm not an engineer, and I'm
Yeah.
the first person to say I'm not an engineer, but
Yeah.
After 20 years of observing all of this, I'm told that, part of it is the geometry of the road. Something as simple as just the sun glare in the morning creates a significant impact on safety out on the roadway. And then, talking innovation, over the past 20 years, just the proliferation of cell phones and smartphones and distraction has, when we look at the crash data on I-78, distraction is the #1 cause of the accidents, crashes.
So with things like having more, I mean, it's kind of paradoxical, but I would think like more signage about distractions help, or almost like there's got to be, I think that would be a cool innovation, is like some kind of roadside system that can see the eyes are not being focused on the road. Because I could see it even on, like I said, one of the things when I come down Pittstown Road, I'm going against traffic, what little there is on Pittstown Road, but I'm always going against it. And so I'm the only car going down, and I'll see like a line of cars, and you'll see at least 30% of people are looking at their phone while they're driving, and they're following, maybe 50 feet behind somebody.
Right.
And it's just crazy to me that people do that. So I don't know how you can, I don't know how you could solve that problem.
This is
Except maybe self-driving cars.
Well, that's the thing, is that we're sort of in a very experimental time right now societally in terms of these distractions and having the cell phones and all of that. And the car manufacturers are kind of coming along right now, and all of the technologies, all of the safety innovations that you see in your car, the lane departures and the pedestrian braking and all of that, is all really designed to mitigate human behavior. The car is trying to be smarter than you are, even though you're behind the wheel. And not everyone knows this, but a lot of these incremental improvements to the vehicles really are all beta tests for the autonomous vehicles that are in development now too. So, all the technology that's in your car right now that's beeping at you when you have a car coming and passing you, is really helping that car to identify what's going on around it.
Okay, so do you get involved, I guess, as your organization, I guess that's one advantage being that you're not a government organization, is that you can advocate to the government on behalf of people. Hey, we did this study, because I noticed that in your brochure too, that you've done a lot of traffic speed studies for the local roads too.
Right. Right.
So that's something where you guys can have a lot more say in
Right.
what goes
Well,
on.
as I said, we rely a lot on data. Excuse me. And we feel that our job is to just sort of report on what we're observing and the feedback that we're getting, and we try and make it as quantitative as possible. Sometimes it's not as quantitative, but qualitative. So, for example, one of our more popular programs and services is our traffic alert service. We provide weekday, morning, and afternoon peak hour commute traffic alerts on road conditions. You can go to our website and you can sign up to receive the alerts based on whatever roadways you want to pick from our list, all Hunterdon roadways. And every year we survey the subscribers. We have about 3,500 individuals that receive those alerts, and every year we track who they are, where they're going to, and then what behaviors they're seeing out on the roadways. And it's interesting to be able to track year over year what people are seeing, whether there's more people seem to be driving aggressively, less people. Now, that's not a quantitative survey per se, but
Is there anything that surprises you in the data that you've seen over the years, or is just part of what you expect? More people. There's people that are commuting from PA. They're 7822 is the big thoroughfare. I mean, really hasn't changed, right?
Nothing that surprised us, but what's been interesting over the years is how much the economy can impact traffic. So when we were in the recession in 2008, traffic volumes were down, crashes were down, and now that the economy is doing better, we're right back up. As you said, it seems like every day there's an accident out on a highway right now. So
yeah, and I noticed that too. I used to notice that in the summer too.
Yeah.
Since you have about 10 weeks where school's out, and so I figure there's a 10% decrease in traffic just from everybody taking that week to go on vacation, and then even more for say 4th of July week or something like that. So you can see that on 78.
Yeah.
For the little that I do get on 78, but.
The local and municipal and county roads, though, we also are seeing a uptick and a general trending upward of single vehicle crashes. Again, distraction.
What about a popular topic I know between Mark and me is recently the deer population, trying to avoid them. Is that something that you guys get involved with? That's something.
Well, we've tried to reach out to the deer and tell them not to jump out.
You give them helmets and everything?
Yeah, they're not the most cooperative group.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue for us. I actually had a deer, like I didn't hit the deer hit me. Like he actually was running parallel. Like I'm going down through towards Lee Street in Clinton. I dropped my son off at the high school, and then I make this swooping turn around through Clinton. I'm going down the hill, and it's the deer actually, I could see in my peripheral vision this buck just running alongside my car, and he didn't like my mirror because I had one of those little orange lights that must blink when there's something in the passing lane.
Right.
And so it must have triggered the deer, and it just turned right into my mirror, and it actually headbutted the mirror.
Yeah.
Didn't go after my car, just the mirror, and just tore it right off. It was so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, it was kind of annoying, but it was the weirdest thing ever. I've never seen a deer get mad at me, not, as opposed to try to run away or something. So must have thought I ran over his brother or something. I don't know.
Right.
So let's see. We're almost time. We have to take a break in a few more minutes. So let's see. So we've talked. I guess we've kind of gone around in circles around this about innovation, like what you've seen. I guess with the schools. Let me see. Electric vehicles. So we've talked about electric vehicles on this show a few times already. So somebody was asking, actually last night I was talking to some friends about electric vehicles, and the one guy actually works for the Department of Roads through the state, and he couldn't even think of a place in Hunterdon for charging for electric vehicles, but I saw it's on page 14.
That's right.
So there are places like the Hampton Inn, the Hunterdon Medical Center, the Lambertville House. So how are these places? Is it just something they did on their own, or is this something that you guys help with these places to promote?
So in some cases, they did it on their own. The charging station at Hunterdon Medical Center was a joint initiative of Hunterdon Medical Center and Raritan Township. Electric vehicle promotion, alternative fuel vehicle promotion, and infrastructure expansion is going to be a major focus in New Jersey in the coming years. The Department of Environmental Protection recently published a draft energy master plan,
Okay.
and the electrification of the transportation sector is a significant emphasis area in that plan.
Are they going to be where people have to pay for? Right now, all these places are free, right? Or not?
Each one has a little bit of a different scenario. Some of them are private, some of them
So like the
have public
Hampton Inn,
access.
you have to be
a hotel
a guest,
right?
and then you get free charging.
Exactly.
Like the hospital, though, that's free to the public, or
There's a very low cost associated
Okay.
with that, and you don't have to be associated with the hospital.
okay,
And then in Lambertville, it's for guests as well.
okay,
But I would say that, and then of course the dealerships here in Flemington, Audi and Ford both have charging stations as well for customers.
Does Ford even have a electric? I guess they have some hybrid type
Right.
stuff.
Right.
They don't really have a full electric vehicle yet. I don't think. I can't think of if they do. That's because Nissan has the Leaf, and
Right.
Chevy has the Bolt. I guess
Yep.
it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the Tesla and a few others.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I've seen where because Zero Surge deals with some companies that are getting into this market as far as we actually have one customer that they do the municipal fueling stations. So they're like if the police have a gas station at the town hall or whatever, that they do the access control system for that. And they're getting into electric vehicle charging too, because a lot of municipalities are looking into this. But on the commercial side, another company I'm dealing with, they're talking about having video screens. Since it takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, they're going to have like little TVs there and basically sell advertisement on it.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to get you the free electricity.
Oh, okay.
So it's just a matter of finding a place that's willing to house it, which obviously like a Wawa or a McDonald's or some place where you're going to spend money to sit for half an hour,
Sure.
readily. So that's something you see that will start growing in the near future because of this Master New Jersey plan.
I would envision that's going to be a major emphasis moving forward. I had a staff member pull some data for me, and as of September, there were 23,000 electric vehicles registered in New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
And surprisingly, 605 of them are in Hunterdon County.
Well, we are a very wealthy county, so we can afford. I see a lot of Teslas. Like when I talk about
Right.
my Pittstown Road commute, which is pretty much most of my commute, I'll count at least 3 or 4 Teslas going up and down that road every morning.
Right, right. But I think we're not doing too bad. We're 14th in
Well,
the
that's pretty
state,
good.
county over county. So we're in the top 20.
Yeah, in fact, it was in the news last week. The first gas station that was converted to an electric vehicle charging station happened in Maryland, Tacoma Park, Maryland. They turned the whole gas station into charging stations because they were just like, well, we want to be the first one. So they turned it all over to that. And I see a lot of them down in Maryland. I see them when I visit family down there. There's definitely a big push down there. So I can see it coming more here to shopping centers and things like that.
Yeah. One of the organizations that we partner with quite often and collaborate with is Sustainable Jersey, which is a statewide network that has a certification program for municipalities and schools that undertake a variety of action items to become more sustainable. And they have a lot of funding available to municipalities that are interested in installing charging stations, and they have a program called It Pays to Plug In. And when municipalities express interest in that, we help them navigate through that grant application process.
Right, because you know how to connect them to the federal dollars that bring in help support.
Right. Well, there's always different funding sources, but I mean, I always say that we're sort of a free resource to anyone on transportation issues, so they should reach out to us, and we can probably point them in the right direction if we can't help them directly.
Okay, good. Okay, well, we need to take another break, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up because we still haven't really talked about the solar sprints.
Okay.
Which is the reason we met, and then we'll go through the little history lesson that I have. So we have about 15 minutes to get through all that, and we'll be right back.
Oh, folks, you know what that music is? That's the time for modern design. This blue thing is a really new trend. A lot of the designers are trying to introduce blue as a new cabinet color. This is topical for you guys. This is really topical. And the mother said, well, I'd like her room to be gray. And the little girl said, Mom, gray is the color of depression. Hi, this is Rich Scuderi of Modern Design. We're on live every Wednesday from 2 to 3, and you're listening on WHCR DB.
You're listening to WHCR DB, HunterdonChamberRadio.com. Brought to you by the Hunterdon County Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business.
For over 50 years, Hunterdon Medical Center has been a leader in delivering comprehensive medical and health services to our community. Our staff is committed to providing the highest quality of care to our patients. If you need a physician, we can refer you to over 300 of the best. Call Hunterdon Medical Center's physician referral service at 1-800-511-4HMC or visit us on the web at www.hunterdonhealthcare.org. When it matters most, our award-winning team of emergency physicians and nurses provides sophisticated care 24 hours a day. Superior emergency care at a moment's notice. Hunterdon Healthcare, your full circle of care.
All right, we're back. Jim Minadio here with HackHunterdon Radio and Tara Shepard from goHunterdon. And we wanted to finish up before we do the lesson because I promised, and this is how we met. So the Junior Solar Sprints. So let's talk about that.
So Junior Solar Sprints is sort of our signature program of our environmental education program. And the environmental education program is provided free of charge to schools here in Hunterdon, grades K through 12. And our focus is really on topics that have to do with the connection between transportation choice and the environment, which covers everything from greenhouse gases to air quality to carbon footprint to anti-idling to the use of alternative energies. So Junior Solar Sprints is a STEM with the arts included there, curriculum for students in grades 5 through 8. And it's a hands-on opportunity for the kids to work in teams, to learn about air quality, alternative energies, and then move on to engineering and aerodynamics and gear ratios, because what the kids do is they design, build, and then ultimately race solar-powered model cars on a race day where all of the teams from across the county that are participating in the program each year meet and compete.
Yeah, so it was so she gets a lot of volunteers. Obviously, it's a big undertaking because you have how many different schools were there this year? It was like 8.
Oh, no. We have over 18 schools.
18 schools, okay.
180 teams representing about 600 students.
Okay. Wow, because I only saw maybe half of them.
Yeah, you were at the fix-it table.
Yeah, there was a group that was judging different, like you had people from Exxon and some other companies, and they were doing some of the judging, and then you had people running the race. And the cool thing about the race is that everybody has the same design constraints, so they're pretty much building the same car as far as size, because you had to carry a soda can.
Yeah, you had to carry a payload.
So there was a certain payload, and they had the same panel, so they had the same power supply and the same motor. So that really constrained a lot of it, so they weren't going crazy with different designs. And I thought was really cool is how the concept of even having it run on the string. So they have a string that goes from beginning to end, and there's a straw that's part of it, and they run the string through the straw, and that way the car follows the string for the track, so it's not going to run into another kid's car, and
Right.
it makes it a lot more feasible to run as a race setup for
Right.
you guys. And
Right.
so
The guideline.
yeah, so what's real nice about it is that and then we had a table. I jumped right in first year, say, oh yeah, I'll work at the fix-it table. So I thought maybe, after maybe an hour, I'd get one or two kids. It was like, as soon as it started, the line was there. We were like, can I do this? Can you solder this? This thing broke off when we came here. And, can you help me? And then all the way to, can you help me design this? And I was like, I'm not going to design it for you in 5 seconds here. This is your job to do. I was able to help one kid, though, understand why his car kept moving to the one side, because he had like a gear on one side but not a gear on the other. And so I was like, well, if I pushed on your shoulder a different way and you started running towards me, you're going to start running this way, right? And that really sparked it in his head. But I was amazed too, probably the most innovative team. There was this set of girls that had, because this is happening over several hours, this race. So the sun moves in several hours. And so the best way to win is to have your sun at a 90-degree angle to your panel. So you have to move it during the race to get optimum. And they took half a tennis ball and they made like a little mount for it, so they could just move the panel depending on whatever the race where they thought the sun was. And I thought that was very creative. I think they were the only ones that did that.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see that group? Or
I do know that group, and I have to say that we've been doing the Junior Solar Sprints program for 5 years now here in the county. And one of the things that I'm very proud of is the fact that I think when we started, predominantly it was boys that made up the teams. And then over the years, more and more girls got involved because more and more girls are understanding that STEM careers and STEM education are for girls too, and they really enjoy it. And this is the first year that we had co-ed teams, which I think is even cooler.
Oh, wow. To me, it just seemed like normal. Like, oh, I had girls and boys. I figured that everybody. Then I found out through one of my employees is that not every kid does this. So you have to, because they don't have so many, like in the school, not every 5th through 8th grader is doing this.
Right. So each school,
they sort of choose based on.
Well, each school determines how they want to integrate the program. For some teachers, they want to integrate it into their classroom activities. For others, they make it an after-school club. For others, they make it an optional, program. And it's really up to the school how they want to participate and how the students participate.
And then when they win, the winning team, did they move on to some other?
They do.
To a state level?
They move on to an inter-county. So our race is determining the winners from within Hunterdon County, from among those 18 schools, and then they move on to an inter-county race.
And how did we do there? Do you remember?
I don't have the results with me right now, but I think they did.
Should I ask you about that?
They did pretty well.
All right. Well, you could email me and I'll post it on our page for people who want to know.
Okay. The part that makes this program so innovative, though, is that really it's this hands-on learning, which is a trend. Gone are the days of just sitting in your chair and having a teacher at the front of the classroom. The children are learning best when they have these hands-on opportunities and they're given these opportunities to really think and process and troubleshoot.
Well, and touch real things.
It's
not a virtual thing. It's not like, okay, we did a program that simulated this. It's like, well, that doesn't take, you didn't have to deal with the sun moving over time, or you didn't have to deal with being able to carry it on a bus and have the wheel fall off. Those kind of things are very important to designing and learning how to design. And I think,
and this is a program that goes pretty much throughout the whole school year. We're already doing programming right now in October in anticipation of race day in May. So it's a whole process, and all of the lessons that we offer are very interactive. Our environmental education coordinator goes into the classroom, and the kids always have their hands on something.
Okay. Well, we got about 5 minutes left, so I don't want to miss out on our traditional historical thing. So since we're talking about transportation in New Jersey, I figured I'd look up history of New Jersey and transportation. And I guess they just, NJ Dot had their 50th anniversary recently. So I think, let's see when it was. Let's see, NJ Dot. They don't tell you on this one. Real quick, see what I had on this one. 35. So I guess 66. So I guess in 2016 was their 50th anniversary. So, but they had these first New Jersey. If I tell somebody, what do you think New Jersey's innovated in highway? First thing they probably say is the Jersey Wall, right? They probably think the Turnpike was invented in New Jersey or the Parkway, but actually there is a type of Parkway that was invented, or that's attributed to being from New Jersey. We can mention too, but we were actually the first state to have a stagecoach service in 1772. In 1793, we had the first balloon flight in America, landed in Woodbury. The first regular steam ferry service was from Hoboken in 1811. The steam locomotive was manufactured in Paterson, which is home of manufacturing in this country, basically. Let's see, the asphalt pavement, the first asphalt was laid in Newark in 1870. Having the grant money system to disperse to the counties for road construction was actually a New Jersey innovation. The first submarine, which you knew, in Elizabeth. The first submarine purchased by the Navy came out of New Jersey in 1900. The first airplane manufacturing plant was in Paterson. Again, Paterson being the hub for manufacturing in this country. The first airport, the first facility to be called an airport was Bader Field in Atlantic City. That was in 1919. The first traffic circle, again, another common New Jersey thing, was Airport Circle in Pennsauken, was the first traffic circle. The first clover leaf was in 1928, which for those who travel in Woodbridge, it's right where Route 1 and 9 meet, just north of it. 1 and 9 crosses 35. And it's actually not a clover leaf anymore. They took one of the leaves of the clover leaf out about 7-8 years ago, because my father-in-law lives very close by there. And the way it's the clover leaf, because there's the clover leaf cemeteries there. Excuse me. My allergies here. And let's see. The breakaway sign was invented in New Jersey. 1969 was the first, the concept of a safety sign. And then the Jersey Wall was invented here, obviously, in 1959. And then the highway that I mentioned it's called a right-in, right-out highway. So if you're going, the example is like Route 4, Route 17, where you can only go in, make a right turn into the highway, and you can only go out on a right. There's no left exits. That was also a concept in New Jersey. So there you go with your innovative concepts. So, all right, so we got 2 minutes to finish here. So the big finish is where I say all my thank yous. So thank you to Tara for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm sure we'll have you back maybe sooner than next year to find out before the solar sprints. We'll definitely try to have you back. And let's see who else. Going to my list here. So to all the fans who are watching, thank you. Thank you to the Chamber for giving me opportunity and the platform, to Mark and his team for economic development for their support, the gang back at Zero Surge, Donna, Deb, Jen, Tony, Dave, John. Thanks to my wife and kids, and to all the rest of you innovators out there. The original meaning of innovator was that you were a rebel. So keep rebelling against the doubters and make your ideas a reality.